Well, welcome guys, thanks for checking out this video. Now this one's going to be a remake or remaster of one of the very first videos that I did for this channel. Now I did have some great support with the actual same topic, so I thought I'd just do another one just to try and cover up and polish up on some of the new things that I've learned and answer some of those questions that you asked in that original video. So I have been having some great support. I'm almost reaching 2,000 subscribers. If you guys can just like this video, that will help with actually outreaching and finding some more people. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe and that'll help this channel grow. Now this is going to be a bit of a long video, so strap yourself in and we're going to first look at how you can actually play PlayStation games originally, so you could play them on the original PlayStation 1, and then later they did have the mini PlayStation PS1, and then you can also play them on the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. So we will be covering actual video content and comparing video captures with original PlayStation 1 games. But first in this video, I'm going to show you with the original PlayStation 1 console how to get a better video and audio output with that actual console and compare some actual videos as well. And then later towards the end, I will show you some recommended setups. So hopefully by the end of this video you have got a better understanding of what the setups are available out there and how to get more out of this well appreciated console to benefit you and your experience and setup needs. And so when you originally had your PlayStation 1, you would have had the aerial connector. Now this was used a lot back in the day. You must be around about my age to remember something like this with the old school CRT TVs. So this was being an aerial connector that would have been back at your TV, and these work pretty much fine if you have something like a setup with a 14-inch portable. It's almost the same quality as you would have had with a composite cable, which I'll show you later on. So with this factor, you would have to plug this in and then manually tune in the channel to get the signal out. Now this was pretty favorable connector back in the day because it was a bit of a splitter. You can actually have the TV aerial when we used to have analog TV, and then also your game signals. You can actually switch between the signals like so. And what I remember was you had another splitter with your actual videotape player or your VCR. So then you can put that in to here, and then your VCR would have had an aerial connector into that. So you would have splitted a TV, the video, and the PlayStation. So that's what we used to have back in the day. You had to tune into the actual signal, and we had videotapes, and then you would have had a tune in our actual TV as well. Now there was more of a better solution, just a plug and play, which is a very welcoming addition. So that I would say this was actually pretty good if you want that authentic type of style of visualization on a CRT TV. It has all those characteristics and that nostalgia factor. But later on we had the composite cable. Now these are probably the worst as well. I would not recommend using these. These are alright just for, again, for another smaller portable CRT TV. So we've had all the video information come out of the yellow. So that is why it's a bit blurry. You have a blurry picture and texture with this type of image, because all the video, the colors and the whites and the blacks are coming out through just one cable. And then you had the audio, which was the left channel and the right channel. So normally I would have split it up this in my old setup. I had that in the TV, and then kind of peel this away to then plug that into a pretty awesome sound amp, so I can get some decent audio out of that. So then the next one up, which is pretty huge in the UK, not so popular in the United States, also available in Japan, was the RGB SCART. So this was probably the highest end of analog signal that you would have got, and really would have crisped up that image for your PlayStation 1. So everything was kind of split into separate channels, the colors, the whites and the blacks, and the audio. So this is like an all-in-one best analog signal that you can get out of the PlayStation and basically most of all older gaming consoles. Now a lot of people are happy with the RGB SCART. It does hold up a really nice crisp image, and the sound quality is pretty awesome. But the one thing you want to look out for with the RGB SCART is the actual build quality. For this one, for example, it's not the best. It's a cheap plasticky one, so you could pick these up for next to about £5 to about £10 if you're pretty lucky on Amazon. So you want to make sure they're built pretty nice. This one is already a bit damaged, but this has served me pretty well. It's lasted me for a few years. But the one thing I recommend if you are getting an RGB SCART is something built a bit better. So this, for an example, is a well shielded actual cable. I picked this up for about £18 a fair few years ago, so it's got a bit of wear and tear, but these actual gold plated, they're just sprayed, nothing too fancy, but they do last a lot longer and they are built better, so they do actually protect any noise coming in. So if you've got a big setup, so you get other video and audio signals coming in, this actually shields that, so you got a stable image. And again, the RGB SCART is most favorable use for a old CRT TV. So now let's look at some HDMI examples. Now this HDMI adapter is provided by LevelHike. There are quite a fair few of these adapters out there. This is one that was sent to me from review quite a while ago, and I've just stuck with this as one of my main setups from PlayStation 1. Basically, this is an adapter that needs USB power, and this will then convert the analog signal, the RGB, into a HDMI output, which then you plug at the end of this, and it will upscale it to 720p. And there's also a 4x3x16x9 switch, so it's a very good adapter, and I do have a full review on that product. I'll just pop that up there for you now, and we will also find it in the description box below. Now another great option that I have used and I think is pretty awesome, especially with the PlayStation 1, and that is the Ossc. Now this is a dedicated box that is really good with analog signal and converting it to HDMI, but the topic is pretty big, so I have actually done a dedicated video to that actual device, and I'll pop that up there for you and also in the description box below. The PlayStation 2, both the fat and the slim model, is of course backwards compatible with most of its library, giving you another great way to play your PlayStation 1 games. There are some pros and cons with this. There are a few titles that just cannot run on both of the models, and results can very slightly change depending on what model you have, either the fat or the slim. More issues are known with the slim model, and also some of the PS1 accessories are not compatible with the PlayStation 2. On the plus side, it is easier to set up a PlayStation 2 onto a HD screen as it is compatible with component cables. I am using an unofficial PlayStation 3 component cable, but there are official ones out there, and even some higher quality ones that may or even see a better job using those. Which this is again an analog signal, but there are a lot of HD TVs out there that can utilize this. The PlayStation default video output is actually set to RGB, so you want to make sure you set up that by going to the component video out settings and set it up to YCB. You won't be able to use this cable without doing so. The PlayStation 2 was capable of using this cable as there are a handful of games that actually use a higher resolution and even up to 1080i. One thing I do like about the PlayStation 2 is that you can actually use the same PlayStation memory card from the PlayStation 1 and just bring it straight over to the PlayStation 2, and then you head to the browser section, and then you can just actually view and display any of the data on there, and you can just actually use it as it was on the PlayStation 1 with moving, copying and deleting files. Another feature that the PlayStation 2 does, by pressing the triangle button on the actual BIOS screen, you can actually access some PlayStation drivers. You can change the speed to fast and also texture mapping to smooth. And I will show you some actual examples of what the smoothing is like on the right hand side of the screen, and then with the smoothing off on the left hand side. Now it actually does vary different type of quality without different games, but I personally found that the actual text of any image on the game itself is the smoother. It's not that harsh, but that does actually dilute some of the actual image popping out, but it can also smooth out those jaggies that you find around their characters and also some of the background 3D polygons. When it comes to running PlayStation 1 games on this system, it actually uses a lot of software emulation, but when it comes to the sound, they actually use the same sound chip. Now I will show you the speed difference between the actual fast speed turned on the right hand side of the screen and then the actual speed just set to normal. It is a slight improvement on how games load, but altogether it may actually give you a bit more time of gaming, but the improvements are not drastic, but a couple of people do prefer just to set that on, but it would actually make the laser of the PlayStation 2 work a bit quicker. But the PlayStation 2 actual CD and DVD drive does have more capable speeds than that of the PlayStation 1 drive. And also, as the LevelHike HDMI adapter can be used for both the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2, they do actually polish up the PlayStation 1 games on that system pretty nicely. also providing you with a HDMI input option with a simple plug and play factor. Unlike some of these adapters that do need some additional power and some conversion, this is just an all-in-one solution just to get some HDMI output from your PlayStation 1 games. So now let's look at what used to be my most preferred way to play my PlayStation 1 games on the PlayStation 3. Again, there are some pros and cons playing on this system, so let's get into this. So let's have a look at the back of the PlayStation 3, the absolute beast. Now I thought I'd show you this because it actually gives you access to basically every video and audio output. So it has the AV out, so you can use cables like the composite cable for your CRT TVs, or even better again, you do have the RGB SCART that you could use on every other PlayStation system before this. Obviously that the RGB SCART is the better analog signal coming out, but then you do have the actual component cables as well if you wanted to use that setup for any HD screens that have that feature. Then also, of course, you have the HDMI out, so that's the most preferred and digital output that you can use for this system. So let's mix things up a bit by playing one of my favorite titles, that is Wipeout 2097. Absolutely love the Wipeout series. The music has always been great, and the Omega collection that came out for the PS3, I put in so many hours. So as I did state at the beginning of this video, all PlayStation 3 consoles can play PlayStation 1 games, and it's only the 60 gig model here in the UK can play those PlayStation 2 games. All games can be upscaled to 1080p depending on your PlayStation 3 display output settings. Personally, I did find with some titles there are some scaling problems. They just never seem to get the right aspect ratio and just fill the entire screen of the game image. But this does differ between different games depending on the original resolution that it then upscales. Again, just like the PlayStation 2, the PS3 offers a smoothing option, and you can also change the screen mode to keep that 4:3 or even trying to fill the entire screen. But as I did state, it does seem to struggle with the aspect ratio of trying to fit it all up. It has been stated that the 60GB PlayStation 2 backwards compatible version does have some hardware emulation due to its PlayStation 2 chips, where the rest of the models, including the PlayStation 3 Slim, are all software emulated. The emulation is pretty great and has handled everything that I've thrown at it, except for a couple of exceptions. Also, capturing PlayStation 1 games with HDMI has always been great to try and get a better video quality, but until I had my LevelHike HDMI adapter from PlayStation 1, I've always ended up sticking with that. If you are wondering how I actually captured video and audio via HDMI, due to its HDCP protection on the PlayStation 3 that actually stops you actually connecting this to a capture device, I will pop a link up there for you to see, and also again you will find that in the description box and how to do that yourself. Now of course the emulation is not that perfect, but its compatibility is very strong. Practically all PlayStation 1 games do run on the PlayStation 3, but my personal experience, because I haven't tested all of them, I remember when I first got my PlayStation 3 there was just two titles that just would not work. That would be Final Fantasy VIII and also Metal Gear Solid Special Missions, and I couldn't really wait to play those games when I first had it. But there was a workaround to get these games going, as they were available on the PlayStation Network. I wasn't that much of a fan of that because I basically just had to purchase what I already owned to get these games going again. I'm not too sure why they just didn't update the software just to get these games running. One problem that I found out later after making my original video about PlayStation 1 video outputs is that there are PlayStation 1 titles that have a 480i resolution, and this is where the PlayStation 3 struggles. As I show you my copy here of Bloody Roar 2 playing, you will notice there is quite terrible motion blur around some of these actual characters moving around. I think that is just because of the interlaced signal, but a lot of the games do have 240p, and that is where the PlayStation 3 is fine. But as I actually compare original footage from the PlayStation 1 with Bloody Roar and then also with the PlayStation 3 on the right hand side, I'm sure it's more easy for you guys to tell. But one interesting thing about the PS3, you can get these USB to memory card slot adapters. This is a cheaper alternative. You can get an official one that was provided by Sony, but they do fetch for quite a bit of money. There have been some problems with the unofficial ones. I had a couple of problems where you just put a memory card and it automatically want to reformat it. But recently I've been testing this and I've had no problems. So you just basically just chuck in the adapter, go to your menu and see your memory card utility, and it should pop up shortly after. So there we have it, it's recognized it. So you can access your original actual save data from your PlayStation 1 memory card. I still find that pretty fascinating. So you can carry on from when you originally played the game from the PS1 and now play it on your PlayStation 3. So you can also create actual new memory cards as well, so you can have a lot of memory save data. So that is just actually solving a lot of problems that we originally had for the PlayStation 1, giving you not enough space. You could then actually back up your actual save data from your memory card to your PlayStation 3, and I think this is a great welcoming feature that you would use for this system. When it comes to emulation, of course you have the PlayStation Classic that came out with a 720p output and a decent type of emulation. But of course that actual mini micro console did flop on its release, but due to this modern community, they really have made a great device of this. This then became my main method of playing my PlayStation 1 games until shortly after. It was not the preferred route as a collector, but a great alternative. As we are on the topic of emulation, of course, you can have a super powerful PC to do some great magic with the PlayStation 1 games, but there's just a couple of devices that I found on my way that are pretty awesome. Unfortunately, I don't own a PlayStation P or a PlayStation Vita, which are both another great way to play your PlayStation 1 game that could also have a video output. This Retroid Pocket 2 is a great Chinese handheld that has been having some great awesome following. It also runs PlayStation 1 games through RetroArch or even through Android PS1 emulator apps. It is capable of having a HDMI output of up to 480p, with Bluetooth connectivity and also USB for many controllers and also online play. For my main TV setup, I also have this T49 Android box. There are plenty of these Android boxes out there, but I found this one at a great price and capable of doing the much same thing as a Retroid Pocket 2, but having that 4K output. And both of these devices actually need no hacking or mods needed to get your PlayStation 1 games. And there's plenty of customization and features here. I find PlayStation 1 games work really well with a 1.5 GHz processor, and more than 1 GB of RAM gives you that extra push. I have made, of course, dedicated videos to these products if you wish to check them out. Of course, you know the rest of what I'm about to say. Well, hopefully you guys have stayed with me on this video. I have done other videos in the past as well, showing some accessories and some other video outputs and some newer games coming to the older consoles, so keep an eye out for that. And you see that wall? That's my wall of all my YouTube awards. Yeah, so I'll hopefully be able to fill that up in the next 10 years. So there are kind of new additions that you can actually mod your PlayStation 1 to get a better experience out of that awesome retro console, and one of them is the SD card reader. So basically like the GDEMU drive replacement, you can get one of those now already, and I've seen a couple of YouTubers on it. It is quite pricey, and basically what it does, it replaces the CD drive for an SD card reader, so you can pop that into your computer and just drag and drop ROMs and let it run. But to be honest, that actual price tag is not really justifying me to actually go and purchase it at the moment. It does look pretty nice, but hopefully sometime in the future I may be able to do that video for you if that's something that interests yourself. Another feature a fair few people has done is actually internally modded the actual console itself to have HDMI output. So basically, again, just like the GD Digital, I believe it's called now, the same guys behind that, so you can have HDMI straight from the board itself, and then you can have that outputted really nice and clear. Something that is another pricey job, so again, maybe perhaps in the future I'll be able to do a video on that. Post-production Jay here, sorry to intervene. Whilst making this video, I have come across this Memory Card Pro. This is done by a company called 8-Bit Mods. Now I'll have to do a dedicated video to cover the aspects on this item itself, but just a quick rundown. This actual memory card can use an SD card. So basically, if you had a 1 GB SD card, you have the equivalent of 1,000 actual PlayStation 1 memory card, so you would have plenty of room and you can filter from page to page. And another quick detail is that it does actually have Wi-Fi. Now the actual usage of that is only just to update firmware on that memory card at the moment, but they have stated in the future they want to work on actual transferring save data to a cloud service, so perhaps you'll be able to share your save data with your friends. So hopefully this video has helped and guided you to know what type of options there are out there for you, so you know how to actually set up your PlayStation 1 to get a better and more gaming value. So as always, as I end my videos, thanks for watching, and if you liked it, hit that button. You want to help and support, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and I catch you guys on the next video.